Hi, and welcome to another Conversations. I'm Angela Wilder, and today I am joined by Brenda Smith, a woman who has an interesting story and does some extraordinary things. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Great. So, are you originally from Winston-Salem?
No, came to Winston-Salem by way of Winston-Salem State University.
Okay. So you are a Ram.
Yes.
Okay.
A mighty Ram.
All right. And once you finished at Winston-Salem State, what was your next step in life?
Actually, I was fortunate, unlike my class, to start working the day after I graduated from college. Started out with R.J. Reynolds, worked with them for a year, and then after that, I was with the division that got sent back or sent to another city and state, and I decided at that time, and I don't want to relocate to where they were going was Elizabethtown, New Jersey. I'm like, no, I don't want to move there. So had a friend and colleague actually that worked at Haynes, and she said, well, let me do some checking and see what we can find out. And as it turned out, there was an opening for a position in the industrial engineering department for a administrative assistant. So I applied and left Reynolds on a Friday, started at Haynes on a Monday, is the way it seemed. So it turned out that, Winston looks like Winston's going to be home, although I had plans of moving to Virginia, living in Virginia. But, so yeah, and worked with...
Out of school into corporate America.
Into corporate America.
And how long did you stay in corporate America?
28 years with that one company, with Haynes Brands.
Right.
1 year with Reynolds,
Right.
and 20
Right.
years with Haynes
Right.
Brands.
But
Yeah.
are you still in corporate America?
No. Left corporate America and took a step of faith, I should say, and stepped away from corporate America in 2008 to follow my passion. And I say passion is purpose and passion in fitness and wellness.
Oh, okay. And how has the transition been from corporate to fitness and I mean, that's two totally different worlds.
Yes. It was not easy being a single mother, raised my son as a single mother, and taking that step of faith. My son was starting high school. 2 years out, the economy went crazy in 2010.
Yes.
Almost lost my house in foreclosure, but I had a client who worked for legal aid, and she assigned a lawyer to me to be a third party and actually save my house.
Okay.
And so, and my son actually said, Mom, maybe you shouldn't have left your job.
Well, oh, thanks.
But I said, I'm going to persevere. But then I thought about it because I'm like, he really shouldn't have to suffer. You shouldn't have to make any sacrifices for this decision that I made. So I actually went back to my prior supervisor, who I had when I left the company, and I, shared the situation with him. And he said, Brenda, something I discovered you working for me is I believe you're in the right place. He said, stick it out and let it be a stepping stone to where you want to get to.
Yes.
And I said, you know what? I think God got to you before I did. He said, no, she's not coming back. But to back up, in 1997 is where it was revealed to me that corporate America was not my purpose.
Okay.
In 1997, my son was 3, and I got downsized from the company after 17 years with the company. But during that time is when I discovered my purpose and passion. Because at the time, being a single mom with a 3-year-old, all you think about is, what am I going to do?
Right.
But fast forward to 2008 when I did leave the company. But even before then, I look back and I realized that was God telling me, throwing me off the corporate ship to let me see that that was not my passion.
Yes.
That was not my purpose.
Yes. So you have your son, and he's telling you you shouldn't have left your job, and things are rough. So what is it that other than your past boss that said,
Keep going.
keep at it, what was it that kept you going?
Looking at corporate America those 28 years, and again, even working with the company, seeing the needs of people, there was a need for more health, focus on health. And even seeing where I was in my health, sitting at a desk all day, those kind of things I do believe kind of spurred me on to continue. I knew what it was doing for myself as personally, because I had a reputation growing up before I had my son, because I didn't have my son until I was 38. I was 38 when I had him.
Okay.
So all those years was focused on me as a single person. I had a reputation of being a gym rat. I was in the gym 4 days a week. And growing up as a child, there was 7 of us siblings, 5 boys and 2 girls. And so I grew up sort of in athletics, with tomboy, as I was called, because I spent a lot of time with my brothers.
Yeah.
And so, I know all those things kind of culminated to where the choice or the where I am as far as this purpose. And
Yeah, so is your emphasis in your work more about just being in the gym, or what's your approach that maybe is different from the other trainer?
In 2008, like I said, when I stepped away and resigned from Hanes Brands, the very next month I got hired by a local YMCA. And that YMCA approached me one day because I was doing a corporate job at one point before I resigned, and the passion on the side. I was at that particular Y as a part-time personal trainer and group X instructor. And they said, guess what? We just got the contract to manage your company's headquarters fitness center, and we don't have anyone to do it. So I said, okay, hold that. And I said, let me think about this. And I prayed about it, and I believe that God said, this is time for you to take that step. And even though the job was part-time, 20 hours a week, I stepped away from a 28-year corporate job, full benefits, and stepped into no benefits, part-time, son going to high school. And so that journey from 2008 until 2017 last year, I stayed in that position for 9 years, managing their headquarters fitness center.
Wow.
And it was really awesome because I was able to work with employees. And during that time, again, looking at the corporate world, the need for more holistic.
Now, when you say more holistic, what do you mean?
The physical, spiritual, and the mental.
Okay.
All 3. And at that time, I was personal training. Currently, I have 20 years as a personal trainer, 12 years as a yoga instructor, and 4 years as a wellness coach. My wellness coach certification came when I was with Hanes Brands. The company actually paid for me to get the certification. The certification is with a prestigious company. It's called Well Coaches. The female is out of Harvard. She decided one day, what can she come forward with that's more in a prevention aspect? Because she was with Harvard into prescriptions, researching prescriptions. So she comes forward with this company. And my certification training allows me to train with people in the 7 areas of weight management, stress management, nutrition, work-life balance, life satisfaction, alcohol intake, and smoking cessation. So I can train with people, coach people in those areas.
Right, right. So you're not just getting people big muscles, you're affecting the whole life, the quality of life.
The whole quality of life.
Yeah. So You're doing all that with other people. Tell me about your relationship with your son.
My son, I'm the proud mother, is very talented, very, very talented. We actually met Rosa Johnson Butler when he was 12, and we got added to Dr. Maya Angelou's guest list. So that was something that really had helped my son. I believe it's where he is today. My son graduated from North Carolina School of the Arts in contemporary dance. 4 days after he graduated, he got hired by Royal Caribbean. He did that for 6 months. And after doing that, he came home. He said, Mom, he went to New York, and then he came back. He said, Mom, what I want is not in New York. What I want is in LA. So he moved to LA, got hired, or he got an audition with Block LA and got selected with a very good auditioning company. So they sent him on auditions. Big break for him came when he was in the Latin American Music Awards last year. He did that, and fast forward 4 months later, he got picked by Justin Bieber's choreographer.
Okay.
To be on tour with a female actress and singer, Haley Steinfeld.
Okay.
So he did a tour with her for 3 months, and 2 weeks after he got back in LA, he got contacted again to be in the Latin American Music Awards. So he's doing really well in his career.
Yes.
He performed for Dr. Maya Angelou for 3 years. In high school and 2 when he was in college. So he got to perform for her.
And I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder how much your courage to follow your dream and your passion fueled his courage to follow his dream.
Well, I tell you, my son, up until his junior year in high school, you couldn't tell my son that he was not going to the NBA.
Wow.
He was very athletic. Track and field, swimming, soccer. He did 1 season of football. He didn't like that. I was so glad. So he pursued basketball. And I'm not saying it because I'm his mother, but my son really could play basketball. When he stepped foot on his high school yard, freshman year, everybody called him Little D Wade. And to look at him, he looks a little bit like him. But his junior year in high school, he was just playing around with friends in the churchyard, just casually throwing the football, and dislocated his shoulder.
Wow.
2 months before his junior year basketball tryouts. So he says, Mom, you know what? I'm gifted I'm talented in other areas. He said, well, his word was, I'm blessed with other talents.
Yes.
And I'm going to switch to dance. I'm like, you're a junior in high school, and you're just going to switch to dance just like that. So at the time, I had a client who worked with the school system, and she helped parents navigate the college entrance.
Yes.
So I said, let's just barter. You don't have to pay me for personal training sessions if you just help me with this college entrance with Jared. So we met for lunch one day, and so she's like, Jared, what do you want to do? And he says, I want to go to North Carolina School of the Arts. And she's like, she looks at me and she looks back at Jared. She's like, you know how hard it is to get in that school? And he's like, but that's where I want to go. And granted, my son did not have formal training. And she said, Jared, but I know of a young girl who trained from elementary school up and did not get in that school. And she said, I worked with the parents. She went into a state of depression. That's where she wanted to go.
But he's the son of a woman who, at the height of an economic downturn, stepped out and started her own business, pursued her passion.
And what helped my son also, he was in the little theater. He got introduced to Mabel Robinson by a member,
Yes.
by the female who was over our. Now, granted, my son grew up in our church. We had a dance ministry, and we had a drama ministry, and my son was in both. My son can act as well as he can dance, but at school of arts, they don't cross over. He had to stay and dance.
Yes.
So Catherine was her name. She's been with the Black Theater Festival for many, many years. And after Larry Leon Hamlin passed, he had a dream of having a youth drama. So she calls me, you got to get Jared over to Little Theater because they're doing auditions for the youth drama, or the youth. And I'm like, Catherine, in 3 hours we got to get ready to have him do a monologue, dialogue, and dance. She's like, you can do it. So we did. So that was one thing that helped my son, was the Little Theater, his exposure and training with Mabel Robinson. He was in the Black Theater Festival. He was seen by a female who has a studio in Greensboro called The Point. She approached us because one year they did a youth talent, and my son got picked. There was 3 awards. You can get first, second, or third place. My son got second place. She approached us and said, you know, I'm going to be doing a production of The Wiz, the adaptation of Michael and Diana Ross. Would your son, could he be in that production with us? And he did. He was actually The Wiz.
Wow.
So he had exposure with Dr. Maya's, family and friends, as she called it, with Mabel Robinson, his training in dance and drama. So he had that kind of training. But when it came to him getting in School of the Arts, the young man who was the choreographer for that production, The Wiz, he got with my son. He said, we're going to work with you, and you're going to do well in that audition. So my son actually did do his audition piece, but he tweaked it. He did a really good job tweaking it, I must say. He tweaked it, and the judges at my son's audition at School of the Arts said, you know, he has no training, but he has raw talent.
Yes.
And that's how he got accepted. It's funny to hear him talk about that day because he didn't know that they would have to do a ballet class and then do a contemporary. He said, Mom, when I was in the ballet, he said, I put my leg up on the bar and I got a cramp. He said, the teachers looked at me like, why is he even here?
Yes.
He said, but when I went across the hall into the contemporary, he said, I was totally in my element, and that went well.
I guess the story to that is when you get a cramp, just keep on pushing, huh? Just keep on pushing. Wow. Well, I want to wish continued success to your son.
Thank you.
And also to you for, you know, having such a forward-looking and thinking way to approach health and wellness. And thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Conversations. We'll be back next week with another interesting and exciting person from Winston-Salem. I'm Angela Wilder, and we'll see you then.